This video is brought to you by ncix.com. Great technology, selection, and service. Hello everyone, I'm Dimitri with Hardware Canucks, and I am really excited for one particular segment of the case market, and that's value-oriented products, because how low can you go before compromises outweigh the savings? In today's video review, we're taking a look at the Corsair's latest carbide case, the 100R, aiming to even further close the gap between giving users the most value-friendly but complete package. At $49 and $59 for the windowed or the silent tower, we have the silent model here. Corsair is not really trying to introduce anything new or unique, but instead they are finding ways to minimize the cost for the most budget-friendly release. And starting off with the looks, the 100R looks very similar to previous carbide cases, with plastic front panel that has a tiny brushed look, only noticeable at certain angles, and the rest is a simple metal frame with a stamped side panels for extra rigidity, although the metal is still fairly thin and flex is evident. Above the two 5¼ drive bays are dual USB 3 ports, headphone and microphone jacks, and illuminated power and reset buttons. Removing the front panel, we find noise dampening material applied here, and being the silent edition, Corsair made sure to cover both side panels as well as the top panel, so the entire top portion of the case is completely solid, creating this linear front to rear airflow channel. A total of two 120mm fans are included, one at the rear and one at the front, while only a single fan on the non-silent edition. And notice the extra mounting holes outside of the frame for dual 140mm fans that can only be installed outside of the frame. As you can see, internal height clearance allows only 120mm fans installed inside the frame. The front panel ventilation is adequate and the panel is spaced out enough for the fans to breathe, and instead of removable dust filter, we find this coarse mesh on each side that would prevent some dust buildup, but don't fully expect it to be closed off from small particles. And if you do decide to populate the bottom fan slot outside of the frame, the drive cage will allow airflow to enter. Coming to the back, nothing unusual here. 7 PCI slots, bottom mounted power supply with a removable dust filter. That's a little challenging to place back, but at least I'm happy to see it included. The silent edition also features a 3-speed fan controller. This is not included on the standard edition, but it's on the back of the case, quite inaccessible. I would prefer this to be at the front, plus you have to deal with all these cables. It can support 3 fans and it is SATA powered, luckily not Molex, and I guess we can't really expect a PWM header on a budget case. However, I was surprised to see pre-installed motherboard standoffs and a middle spacer for easier installation, and the interior frame is designed well to accommodate for mini ITX systems with additional cutouts, plus micro ATX and standard ATX cutouts all around. If only Corsair included rubber grommets, even on just the power supply cutout, that would have been nice. The drive cage has 4 caddies with toolless 3.5-inch mounts and a centered SSD mount for convenient routing. Now, one thing I do have to mention is the lack of any height availability above the motherboard that makes routing the 8-pin CPU cable very difficult. I just ended up running these through the cutout before placing in the motherboard. Now, I am happy with how the build turned out. You have direct airflow delivery from the front, GPUs over 12 inches are supported in the top 4 PCI slots, and 10.7 inches for the bottom 3. I'm also impressed at the lack of any GPU sag, given how massive and heavy the R9 290X is from ASUS. The frame holds it in place very well. I could easily route my front I/O cables through the bottom cutout for a micro ATX motherboard, and I would strongly recommend using stealthy cables on the power supply, just to minimize any visual mess that you might create, but also help at the rear, as Corsair includes a few cable tie hoops, which is a plus, some space behind the drive cage, which is also a plus. But if using power supply cables that are not flat, it would be very difficult to complete a clean job just because the spacing is very limited. Lastly, let's take a listen at how loud the system is and see exactly how much noise the side panels prevent. Alright, let's turn the machine on. And so I would say the 100R Silent Edition delivers on its promises, and it could be a great choice for budget systems. And for $10 more than the standard 100R, you are getting an extra fan and a fan controller along with noise dampening applied throughout. But Corsair really needs to reconsider the placement of the fan controller, and while our system looks great here, doing cable management with anything but flat or maybe all black cables would be a total pain, especially if you can't pre-route that 8-pin CPU cable. And once again, this category is only now starting to see proper competition as companies try to squeeze out those little extra features that we as builders and users want to see on a value-oriented enclosure. And I really cannot wait to see what a $49 case in the future will look like as the standards sort of improve and we get to see more features incorporated into cases like this one. So guys, thank you so much for watching. This concludes the 100R review from Corsair. Let us know what you feel about the case, and if you are considering to do a budget system, a budget build, whether or not you would consider building inside the 100R, why or why not, and what are some of the features that you would like to see in the future similar 100R case release. So leave your comments down below, make sure to subscribe for more similar content, give us a like if you found this review helpful, and we'll see you in the next one.